Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse boldly went where no Spider movie dared to go before. Basically, it went everywhere. With Easter eggs galore, it seemed like there were nods to every iteration of the character. Phil Lord and Rothman wrote a smart script, packed with great dialogue for solid actors. And we here at ScreenRant still can't get over the massive cast whose voice talents helped make this film possible. So we're gonna give you the lowdown on some factoids about these amazing actors that you might not know. Let's face it, Miles Morales is the breakout star of the movie. After jumping into Marvel's pages in 2011, he's been freshening up the Spider-Man mythos ever since. Voicing Morales, Shameik Moore of Dope and Get Down fame appeared in an interview with Peter Travers. He said, "This kid could be white, black, Asian, Hispanic. He just happens to be black and Hispanic. It reflects what New York looks like, what the world looks like today." But apparently Shameik had a hard time appearing imperfect on screen. In his character's introduction in the film, it was intended for Morales to have a less than perfect singing voice. Director Bob Persichetti stated he wanted Shameik to sing poorly. Shameik doesn't do that, so he had to be coaxed into singing less well. Unlike the previous franchises, which never managed to reach this stage of Spidey's life in their storytelling, we finally see an older, weathered Spider-Man on the big screen. Jake Johnson's background as the grounded and down-to-earth Nick Miller in New Girl, and his comedic chops make him perfect as a dry 40-year-old who's possibly lost his way in the crime-fighting arena. According to Johnson, he was on a similar track to the fictional Peter B. Parker, spending most of his time in casinos and pulling all-nighters, until he met his wife. She was the one who encouraged him to get to sleep early prior to a meeting with a commercial agent. He got new headshots, started the deal with the agent, and ended up on the trajectory for the career he has today. SpiderGwen finally gets her moment to shine. Hailee Steinfeld's come a long way since her breakout role in the Coen brothers' True Grit. She's grown into a fashionable movie star and a pop sensation, two feats that too few have been able to balance successfully. With that in mind, she manages to match her character Gwen Stacy's ability to balance her persona and superhero life. Like the 1 in a million Gwen Stacy, Hailee was one of 15,000. While she wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider in real life, Steinfeld was bitten by the acting bug when she was the only one of 15,000 girls to be cast in True Grit. From the quiet life of a homeschooled preteen to her present-day fame, it's been a wild ride of well-deserved success. Mahershala Ali went from Marvel TV villain in Netflix's Luke Cage to Marvel movie villain as Miles' Uncle Aaron in this film. Aaron doubles as the vindictive The Prowler, and Mahershala once pursued a different life for himself when he received a scholarship to play basketball for St. Mary's College. While at school, he changed his mind about his career path and pursued acting, eventually getting his master's in performance from NYU and working his way up to a starring role in Moonlight that made him into a household name. With a father who appeared on Broadway, it runs in the family, much like the superpowered uncle and nephew Morales. His follow-up to Spider-Man is a starring role in HBO's True Detective, and hopefully he'll get to play a good guy again soon. Liev Schreiber has done this whole superhero thing before, appearing as Sabretooth in Hugh Jackman's first solo outing in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Here, he played a very different kind of villain, voicing Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. What drew Liev to this project? The excitement of the animation team. Without spoiling too much, Schreiber said in an interview at the 68th Berlin International Film Festival that he appreciated how anamorphic it was. That was his way of hinting at the intermingling of the different universes. When the interviewer brought up the fact that the animation matches a comic book style, agreed, saying that it really is a much broader, bigger canvas than you would usually find in a movie like this. With a varied career like Schreiber's, his appearance in Spider-Man has certainly shaken up his IMDB page. Atlanta star Brian Tyree Henry is having his moment. Not only is he a force on Donald Glover's hit TV show, but he's also a star of not one, but two of 2018's big films, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and If Beale Street Could Talk. As Miles Morales' father, Brian saw a lot of himself in his final performance. He nailed the right balance of supportive and stern that you would expect from Miles' pops. As for Brian, it makes sense that he'd be a great voice actor since an earlier role involved him having an excellent voice. Brian was in the original cast of Book of Mormon, and as a graduate of the Yale School of Drama, this guy has the chops to play a wide range of characters. So we should probably expect to hear his voice in more animated films in the future. Marvel is going out of their way to cast interesting and insanely talented Aunt Mays. After Marisa Tomei's turn as a younger and conventionally attractive Aunt May in the MCU, comedy icon Lily Tomlin's take on the role in Spider-Verse. After the creative team saw Tomlin deliver a speech, they reached out and asked her to read for the role. Tomlin says she aimed to make her Aunt May a tougher and streetwise character, one who's equipped with the know-how to drop enough bits of wisdom on Miles so he's ready to become his own Spider-Man. Tomlin didn't get to improvise too much of her own dialogue, but she did say that the character is basically a version of her. She kept the performance as naturalistic as possible, and thanks to the writers, she was able to shine through. From Ugly Betty to Dexter, Luna Lauren Velez has been able to show off her craft on screen in a variety of roles. And similar to her on-screen husband, she's appeared in Broadway musicals. In an interview with Collider, Luna emphasized just how different Miles' Spider-Man is from Peter Parker's. For starters, Miles has his parents, and his family has a very loving relationship. Luna was taken by the fact that Miles, as a teenager, allows his mom to shower him with affection. But it's not a strange or out-of-place character for her, because she knows the neighborhood. Luna was brought up in Queens, so she's fully aware of the type of personalities one would see in a Spider-Man story. So imagine how cool it would be to find yourself starring in one. John Mulaney is one of the most successful stand-up comics around. As one of the comedic voices of this generation and an all-around relatable guy, Mulaney has brought his talents to his several popular stand-up specials. His writing on SNL, where he collaborated with Bill Hader on Stefan, among other creations, and his performance on Broadway in Oh, Hello. With that in mind, he was the perfect person to play Peter Porker and Spider-Ham. Unfortunately, according to his appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, some of his more colorful line readings ended up on the cutting room floor. When he improvised some lines, he ended up cursing pretty wildly. At the end of the day, it's just nice we finally get to see a fringe character like Peter Porker getting his time to shine. Nicolas Cage is having quite the year himself. The actor gave an insane and inspired performance in the over-the-top action art film Mandy, and now he's gone on to provide a new take on Spider-Man. Spider-Noir is basically Spider-Man in a dark, seedy 1930s world. As a big comic book fan who famously was going to star in a Superman film that ultimately fell apart, it's nice that Cage got to play an iconic comic book character. Since Spider-Noir is, well, a noir-esque role, Cage said he tried to channel those noir films with Bogart, and have those kinds of sounds that he might make with Cagney or Edward G. Robinson. That kind of way of talking. Well, Nick, your performance mounted to a hill of beans. Good job. Kimiko Glenn gives an exciting take on Penny Parker, and with a sequel in the works, we hope she comes back for more. In the meantime, we'll have to pass the time by enjoying Kimiko's other voice work. She's a young actress, but she's landed a variety of parts on screen and behind the mic. If you listen closely to the voice work in the new DuckTales TV series, Voltron and BoJack Horseman, you might hear her dulcet tones. And if you want to actually see her face, look out for her in Orange is the New Black. In the meantime, her role in the anime universe of Spider-Man's mythology probably helps to solidify this movie's street cred among anime fans. Plus, in Japan's dub of the film, you'll hear anime stars Mamoru Miyano and Kensho Ono as Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Chris Pine is in everything nowadays. Just a quick glance at his IMDB page proves he's one of the busiest actors around, with 2018 being the year his movies Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, A Wrinkle in Time, and Outlaw King, alongside his appearance in the TV show Supermansion. He coupled this with the upcoming release of I Am the Night, while filming Wonder Woman 1984. So when he's not busy acting, he's busy promoting the last thing he acted in. Plus, he apparently has the time between all this to record a full song for the fictional Christmas album that his character recorded in Miles Morales' universe's version of the character. So if while you're busy waiting for the next Star Trek sequel, you can get your fill of Chris Pine singing Spidey Bells. Between Star Wars, X-Men, and the Coen brothers, Oscar Isaac has been able to balance appearances in huge crowd-pleasing event movies and smaller award-winning films. How does he do it all? By seeming so authentically committed to whatever character he portrays. This even extends to his post-credits appearance in Into the Spider-Verse. Playing Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man from 2099, seems out of place when he appears in the friendly neighborhood of the 1967 animated Spider-Man series. And it's not just any episode, but a specific installment entitled Double Identity. For those fans without an encyclopedic knowledge of the 1967 show, that's the one where the two Spider-Mans appear and face each other. The writers crammed so many references upon references into this film that they even had to stick one of their best moments in the end of the movie. Kathryn Hahn is one of the best character actresses working today. So Into the Spider-Verse checked off another box of awesome just by having her on the cast list. And to think it almost wasn't meant to be. According to director Bob Persichetti, Doc Ock was initially written in the style of Big Lebowski's The Dude. While we wouldn't be opposed to Jeff Bridges playing a Spider-Man villain, the twist that Olivia happened to be this particular Spider-Verse's Doc Ock made the preceding set pieces and hero-villain dynamic that much more interesting. Plus, we can't imagine the film without Han. At first, despite all the other drastic story decisions, some of the powers that be were opposed to having Doc Ock be female. But Persichetti states that Han's Doc Ock ultimately became many people's favorite part of the movie. Marvin Jones III, aka Krondon, is an actor and rapper with a comic book-filled past. He's most recently played the lead villain of Black Lightning on the CW, his character named Tobias Whale. He was able to bring his experience in villainy to the table when playing Tombstone in Into the Spider-Verse. In order to give his villainous characters that extra relatability, he's able to empathize with them, regardless of their background. Of his Black Lightning character, Tobias Whale, Krondon said that he finds Whale's drive in everybody. It just depends on how much one relies on their drive to succeed by any means necessary. That defines how good or evil they end up being. To prepare for his roles, he told Black Girl Nerds in an interview that all I do is study scripts and scripture. After being played by actors with more dramatic chops, a man with the comedic street cred like Jorma Taccone finally has the chance to tackle the persona of the Green Goblin. Taccone, who rose to success with The Lonely Island and his many credits on SNL, is one of the comedy world's biggest forces today, and it's no doubt that his history with Phil Lord and Chris Miller got him this role, but his presence is usually felt behind the scenes. As a writer, he's officially credited with over a decade of work on SNL, Popstar, Never Stop Never Stopping, MacGruber, and the upcoming MacGruber 2. He's directed episodes of Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Last OG, and the upcoming Miracle Workers. As for his inspiration in directing, that probably comes from his father, Tony Taccone, who's the artistic director of the Berkeley Repertory Theater. Joaquin Cosio plays Scorpion, the Kingpin's henchman, and a role that joins a long line of portrayals for the versatile Mexican actor. Raised in Juarez, Cosio, he didn't initially study theater, but went on to become an influential player in its theater scene. Spent much of his career in Juarez, when he wasn't on the roster of Mexico City's National Theater Company. Working as an actor and professor, Abel practiced what he taught and balanced his career with a role in education. After roles in high-profile Spanish-language projects, Cosio made the jump to English-speaking franchises, appearing in Quantum of Solace, The Lone Ranger, and Narcos. Up next in 2019 comes one of his biggest projects, an appearance in Rambo 5: Last Blood. Lake Bell, who plays Kingpin's wife Vanessa, has multiple talents. Not only is she an actress who balances comedy with drama, she's appeared in both ER and Children's Hospital for starters, but she's a writer and director too. Bell wrote, directed, and starred in the film In a World, where she played a female voiceover artist. From there, she's gone on to prove she can nail a British accent in Man Up with Simon Pegg. Her versatile voice no doubt helped secure her role as Vanessa, and her comfort in the spotlight will help her to keep creating interesting work in the years to come. Whether she's showing her emotional truth or bearing skin under body paint, like the time she posed for New York Magazine wearing just a large painted rose, temporarily tattooed by her husband, tattoo artist Scott Campbell. Zoe Kravitz played Mary Jane, and while she's new to Spider-Man, she's no stranger to the world of comic books. Her first appearance in a comic book movie was X-Men First Class, and she has some other connections as well. Her father, Lenny Kravitz, is a rock superhero. Plus, her mom, Lisa Bonet's second husband is Jason Momoa, aka Aquaman. While Mary Jane spends her time in Peter Parker's world, the actress has a history with Miles Morales' voice actor, Shameik Moore. Shameik and Zoe both appeared together in Dope. Next up for Kravitz is a role in the upcoming High Fidelity TV series. In the original film, Kravitz's mother played the former love interest of John Cusack's character. In an upgrade, Zoe will be playing the lead. Whether working with superheroes or record stores, for Zoe Kravitz, it's all a family business. Stan Lee's loss is one felt beyond the Marvel Universe. Our entire world doled out condolences for the industry giant, and no Marvel-based comic book movie will be the same without his presence. Thankfully, we got one of Stan Lee's last recorded cameo appearances in Into the Spider-Verse. As Stan Lee was able to play the man who gives Miles Morales his first costume, which is appropriate since Stan Lee's work with Marvel made Miles Morales' run as Spider-Man possible. The comic SpiderGwen, issue number 5, had an Easter egg in one of the panels. Much like Into the Spider-Verse, this comic book features multiple versions of Spider-Man working together, and in the background stands an unmasked Spider-Man, with a face unmistakably like Lee's. If that means Stan Lee will be permanently memorialized as a member of the Spider-Verse, then we couldn't ask for a better tribute. Thanks for stepping into the Spider-Verse with us. And remember, true believers, you don't need to get bitten in order to gain super film powers that ScreenRant can offer. Just subscribe to us and comment below to join the friendly neighborhood of Spider fans that crawl along our comment wall. With great power comes great responsibility. So come back soon to watch ScreenRant's latest and greatest videos. We'll see you around.